China or Russia would rather have, would want more in this competition in the United States to be bogged down another decade in Afghanistan.
President Biden today saying America is stronger for having left Afghanistan, no matter how horribly we botched the withdrawal. From Beijing to London, Moscow to Pyongyang, the world is watching. And now, as our allies question the handling of all this, growing concerns that hostile actors like China and Russia will fill the void that we certainly left in Afghanistan. Joining us now, Gordan Chang, China expert, author of The Great U.S.-China Tech War, and Nile Gardiner, director of the Heritage Foundation's Margret Thatcher Center for Freedom. Gentlemen, good to see you both. We appreciate it as always. Nile, start with you. Is the special relationship between the U.S. and U.K. still as broken as when we talked last week?
Well, I think it's in quite a bad state at the moment. Certainly, probably the lowest point since the Suez Crisis of 1956, Leland. I do believe the special relationship will be repaired and revived, but it will only happen actually once Joe Biden has left the world stage. And I've spoken to many senior British politicians who take the view that Joe Biden is an absolute disaster as US president. They view him as very anti-British. They think he's thrown US allies under the bus. And they're very much looking forward to the next US president post-Biden who can restore America's standing in the world.
I thought it was always, and I mean this sincerely, I thought if you listen to the media, it was always President Trump who threw the allies under the bus.
Well, that was the conventional sort of narrative that you found, especially from sort of mainstream liberal media. But of course, in Britain, a lot of conservatives are very suspicious of Joe Biden when he became president, because Biden has a track record of being an anti-Brexit figure. And so they distrusted Biden from the start. And I would say that the Afghanistan crisis really has been a further wake-up call, certainly for the British, political leadership. And I think that overwhelmingly the Brits now have turned against Joe Biden, and they do see him as a president who is significantly undermining not only the United States, but also the transatlantic alliance and the US-UK special relationship.
I want to bring in Gordan on this because that's how our allies view us. Now we talk about how our enemies view us, which would be China. And there's sort of this tale of two views, right, Gordan? Because China's state media columnist tweets, not acknowledging any of his blunders shows what kind of person Biden is. We've also seen a lot of tweets from the foreign ministry calling this America's defeat and humiliation, the like. Just 20 minutes ago, though, the Wall Street Journal reporting, in leaving Afghanistan, U.S. reshuffles global power. The American withdrawal creates new complications for China and Russia. Can those two things be true at once, or only one of those views, Gordan?
I think they're probably both true. China doesn't like the idea that the U.S. can redeploy to East Asia. And of course, they did like the U.S. being bogged down in Afghanistan. And for one reason, Leland, and that is we actually did provide some stability there. Now, of course, they didn't like U.S. troops in a country that bordered China, but we were not bothering the Chinese. Now, with Chen Weiwa's tweet, which is what you referred to, yes, he will on any occasion try to tar the image of the United States. And indeed, Biden did not today acknowledge his grievous mistakes. So, in one sense, I suppose this might be the first time ever that I've actually agreed with something that he said.
Well, we'll mark it on the calendar and hope it doesn't happen too often. But Nile, I'm back to this about the UK-US relationship. At some point, doesn't the UK need the US a lot more than the US needs the UK?
Well, certainly, of course, the United Kingdom needs the United States, but I do think the US needs the UK as well. After all, the UK has been standing shoulder to shoulder with the United States on the battlefield now for the last 70 years. I expect that will continue to be the case, but that depends upon, I think, the British government, the British people having, faith and trust in American leadership. I think that faith and trust has actually broken down. And at the moment, there's no confidence in Joe Biden as the leader of the free world or the US commander in chief. But I think that the British are taking a long-term view here, which is that Biden is probably going to be a one-term president, and that you can restore fully the special relationship once Biden has gone. So I think that's the strategic thinking in the UK right now.
Noteworthy, it's been said a lot in Parliament that the only reason that UK forces were in Afghanistan to begin with was because America was attacked. So they came to our aid, and then we left. This we found curious, which is the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, talking about how the U.S. might re-engage, of all things, with the Taliban by giving them aid. Take a listen.
When it comes to our economic and development assistance relationship with the Taliban, that will be about the Taliban's actions. It will be about whether they follow through on their commitments to safe passage for Americans and Afghan allies, their commitment to not allow Afghanistan to be a base from which terrorists can attack the United States or any other country, their commitments with respect to upholding their international obligations.
All right, Gordan, how do they view that in Beijing?
I guess they must be laughing. The thing about Jake Sullivan is basically he's saying the U.S. is going to pay ransom to get out remaining U.S. citizens and residents and some Afghan allies. And really what Jake Sullivan is trying to do is give them some financial motivation in Kabul to let this happen. I thought that this was disgusting. It was disgraceful. And it just shows that Jake Sullivan has never been right about foreign policy as national security advisor.
Does it scare you about
wrong down the line?
Does that scare you about his advice that he might be given about China?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Jake Sullivan understands that China's an adversary, but I don't think they're really willing to say that, and they're not willing to do those things that are necessary at this moment, because China's attacks on us right now are not only relentless, but vicious. And so the defense of the Biden administration is inadequate.
Gents, I got to run. Gordan, Nile, thank you very much. This conversation is going to continue, unfortunately, in the weeks and months to come, and we'll see you then to talk about it. We appreciate it. When we come back,
Thanks, Leland.
the mayor of one